Mm. Welcome in. No punts allowed. Adam and Paige. Post-draft. Heart of college football. I told you the other day, I think I've said it every week on the pod for like the last 2 months. Like, I am so goddamn excited for football.
Yeah.
Like, I am so excited for football.
I feel like normally after the draft, I'm like, okay, there's a little bit of a down period, but I feel like the draft was like, all right, it's here, it's over. It wasn't even, and not to say anything against these draftees, but it wasn't like the sexiest of draft classes.
No.
And I feel like it wasn't super exciting. I feel bad. It's exciting that they're drafted to teams, and that's awesome. But I'm just saying, it just doesn't feel like, oh, I need a break. I'm kind of like, okay, like I can consume more football. I want to know who's going to go where next year in the draft and all those things, and who's going to play well this year. In terms of college football, also funny. I was discussing with some coworkers about the draft this year, and like we looked back at like our draft projections before the college football season last year, and like Spencer Rattler and like Sam Howell and like it's so crazy that the conversation changed so much through the year, that I feel like we're gonna have another year kind of like that. I feel like Will Anderson and Bryce Young changed things, but I will say that it makes me excited for the year to see who's gonna like break onto the scene out of nowhere.
Oh yeah, I love 2023 mock drafts are the shit, man. Screw this. Like, let's talk about Bryce Young and CJ Stroud and Will Anderson.
Yeah.
I will say, I will be surprised if all three of those guys aren't selected in the top 10. Full stop. Like, those dudes are awesome. So, but then, we've got Kentucky quarterbacks being mocked into top 10s. We've got, this is where shit gets weird, right? Like Brock Purdy of Iowa State was once a first-round pick. So, but this is why we do what we do. This is why we love what we do. So, you hit on the draft. Let's just, I will say my Jets, I really am happy, Paige. Like, overall, I know we, talked kind of late in the week last week. The Jets didn't fuck it up. And they may have, so it was hard for them to fuck this up with all the draft capital. I was really happy with my football team for one night. And it's weird, by the way, to have people complimenting the Jets. Like, people are like, hey, man, like, your team, didn't fully embarrass you. And it's like, hey, thanks, pal. Appreciate it. So the Jets were fun. And then my other thing, just the quarterbacks is just so strange. Like, the NFL just, all these teams just collectively got together and said, this class really isn't that good, and we're just going to chill. And I was surprised that the run truly never came.
Yeah. And I will say I was a little disappointed that the first puncher off the board was not the punt god. Do you have any thoughts on that? Because I know we obviously you wrote on Matt Araiza.
I think I just shared them. Yeah. I had heard that. There was, I forget, there was just some people talking that, but, we wrote about Matt Araiza. And what we wrote about is, his style contradicts the NFL style, right? Like, the piece really talked to, NFL teams saying, why did you come out? Because, they don't think booting the ball 85 yards is a good thing. And it kind of showed, right? In teams passing up and him not being selected. But then he ends up in Buffalo and Bills Mafia, and they're going to, love this dude. And it worked out perfectly. And one of the things that Araiza said that really stuck with me was, I would so much rather go to a contender and someone good than be selected earlier, paraphrasing.
Mm-hmm.
But really talked about the importance of going to a good team. Well, buddy, it's cold as fuck, but you're on a good team. So, I was happy for him because I know that was important, and that worked out perfectly.
Yeah, and I think something that I found interesting was that he was very honest about the fact that he knew that it didn't fit the NFL style, but he is a player who is able to adjust as well, but also the game can adjust too, and he's maybe a little ahead of his time on it adjusting. I just thought it was interesting that, I wonder if it's because he was so vocal about it that was part of it, because I know in the past, when guys are trying to, sell themselves sometimes teams don't really love that and don't really like the
For
challenge
sure.
of somebody who's willing to say, hey, I don't necessarily fit the game, but the game is adjusting and changing in certain ways, and I have other talents and skills aside from just punting that, I can help with. But I thought it was really interesting that was the case. It was kind of sad for us because obviously we were rooting for him, but
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it overall was a kind of mellow draft, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I'd say, and this is a bridge to the conversation du jour in college football, and I think it's really fast. Justin Ross. Justin
mhm.
Ross, Clemson wide receiver, does
Yep.
not get drafted. Now, Justin Ross, before his really bizarre and very serious neck injury, it's not even an injury. It was something just born with, right? And had to get his neck like surgery and everything else, was the best, like maybe the best player on Clemson, period.
Yeah.
Like at the time, better than T. Higgins, huge, like just an incredible player. And I remember playing Alabama and was like, oh my God, how the hell did Alabama let this dude get away because he was from there and everything else?
Yeah.
So he goes undrafted, goes to the Chiefs. Again, kind of a similar thing with the Rise. That's a great spot. As we talk about NIL, as we talk about getting mad at the sport, not necessarily at the kids, getting, looking at the sport, trying to understand where it's going, and if it's pay per play, I look at him and I say, here's a guy that if this happened 3 or 4 years ago, he would have made many millions of dollars, and would have been, in a much different position. Now, granted, he's going to be fine, and God, I hope he's awesome in the NFL, and I hope he regains some, form. But I find the parallel pretty interesting that here was the dude in college football,
Yeah.
undrafted, and now we're getting all mad about NIL and everything else. And I think it's fascinating, Paige. He's another guy that it's just unbelievable to see that guy not taken whatsoever.
I think it's going to be interesting because I think there are guys that will fall in terms of draft status and choose to go back to school because they can make money now at that level, despite maybe not being the number 1 overall draft pick or first round pick. They have opportunities in their local area to be a
sure.
star, even if, especially quarterbacks. I think about a guy like Sam Howell. Again, we just talked about how he was very much in that space of okay, he could probably make a good amount of money at UNC. Even though he was projected earlier on to be in the main conversation of quarterbacks, it shifts things. It does shift. And I also think this year, this specific, probably the next 2 years is a little strange just because there is the 1 year free transfer thing. And I think that's also why NIL and then COVID having that transfer situation is just explosion central, which sort of brings us to our next discussion. So I don't even know where to start, if I should start on the Pitt side of things or the USC side of things. But I will say Jordan Addison is saying he's going to transfer from Pitt. Okay, it's not official. I think when this originally
at very
came
least,
out,
he's in the portal, which means
yes,
he can return, but he's likely not to return and exploring his options.
Well,
and oh, by the way, he's catching passes from Bryce Young in California right now. Which
is another element to this. So the start of this story was really that Pat Narduzzi called Lincoln Riley because he heard the USC was on the list for Addison and said, okay, he'd got some rumblings that maybe there was some tampering going on. And he was not pleased with that. And it was reported that he called Lincoln multiple times to complain about that. First, let's start with the fact that, at Pitt, this kid was developed into an excellent player, obviously award winner, all these accolades, and then now there's a price that you could put on that talent that's developed because he wasn't overly recruited and all of these things, but now there's a money to be made, and now he wants to see what his options are.
Yes,
that has to be frustrating from a Pitt perspective.
For sure.
We developed this kid. There's a part of the reason he's in. This is also the age-old discussion of oh, like we don't owe the school anything, the school doesn't owe us anything, or like it's mutual. It's so complicated. But like, let's start with Pitt. What is your thought on, like, from their perspective, what do you do about this kind of thing? How do you make it so that doesn't keep happening to your school and you're not getting rid of guys that you've developed and helped make great and put them on a in a situation to be able to be looked at by USC, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it does. No, so I think it's I was interacting with Pitt fans when this came out, and like they're fucking pissed. And guess what? They should be pissed. This is where NIL, like this conversation we're going to have about this one player, I think encapsulates a lot of different emotions that are all validated throughout this process. So Pitt fans are really sad because they have this Biletnikoff Award winner, and he's just going to transfer now. It sounds like, most likely.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a Pitt fan, you have every right to be mad. If you're Pat Narduzzi, you can be mad. You can be angry. You should call Lincoln Riley, which is a great visual of him just stomping around the facility, like, you know, yelling motherfucker at Lincoln Riley. I just love that. That is funny to me. So I think in this instance, this frustration that Pitt is feeling, this has brought on a groundswell, Paige, of like really strong, look what the sport has become, like emotions from fans. And oh, by the way, Ross Dellinger, friend of the show, friend of us, is, you know, posted a story in SI that basically said, hey, college football officials see this and they're working to crack it down. Well, you've sort of opened it up. Like Pandora's box is open. And Pitt, in this instance, is on the wrong side of it. Well, let's talk about Mr. Addison. His quarterback left, his OC left, right? Like all these pieces around him left. The offer reportedly is like $3 million, like something, which is outrageous. That is truly outrageous. Like, get money.
Hey, the wide receiver price tag is going up in the
that's true.
Might as well.
That's true. So that's the price tag. So I can say, and this is where I'm going. Yes, it feels weird, and yes, it doesn't feel right. No, the sport is not dying. No, it's not dying. We've been doing this for a while. The best players are being paid. Shocking. I just, this situation encapsulates so much, Paige, of what's going on. Pitt should be mad. This dude should be paid. USC and Alabama are going to get the best player. Like, guess what? That's how it's kind of been going, and that's the way it's going to be. And I'm watching it all, and I'm not necessarily loving what I'm seeing, but I'm not angry about it either.
Yeah, well, and I think the other part of this is, like, take money out of it and just look at the fact that there is the transfer rule this year. A guy like Lincoln Riley has a lot of work to do on that roster. It's not like he inherited some amazing roster. And he's doing what he needs to do to get his program into, because it is his job. So should they be tampering and, you know, doing it in a way that, you know, is not professional? But again, the rules on this are so all over the place that it's like, all right, it's going to happen. And like, would he be as mad if this was like a Lane Kiffin situation where he's going to Ole Miss instead of a USC? But I think like the trigger schools are USC, Alabama. I mean, Clemson. I would say Texas too. Like those are schools that like people are going to be annoyed that Texas A&M they're using their money to their advantage, even though that was already happening before. Like that was already, we know for sure it happened at USC. I mean, like it's confirmed. So it's just interesting to me that like I understand that Pitt fans are upset. I understand why Addison should go and play where he's going to make the most money now and in the future.
Absolutely.
Like, you're right. Like he had pieces leave, and like beneficial for him overall would be moving on to somewhere. Now,
you know, but here's like like your point is right, but I think you're getting to the point of us, like fans and media, and like we need to just fucking deal with it. Like the whole, like, we need to grow up and stop complaining about like, oh man, the sport used to be, you know, this unpaid labor, the glory days of unpaid labor, man. Those were the days when like players couldn't make shit and they couldn't leave their school. Well, guess what, buddy? It's fucking over. Grow up. Go watch tennis. I don't give a shit. Like, this is what bothers me. Like, I really hearken for the days where kids were prisoners at their school and they couldn't be paid. Okay, pal. Way to go. I'm sorry your sport is... Like, this is the thing. Like, oh, is this what we... Look at Matt Berry for ESPN. Not to rail on him. Like, made that post and, like, just getting... The quote tweets were a
What did
sight to
he
be
say?
seen.
I didn't even see it.
He had, like...
Arizona State Sun Devils.
Hold on. I'm going to pull it up.
This is behind the scenes. I accidentally unplugged my computer charger. I got to make sure that that's locked in so we can keep recording the episode.
No. So hold on. I want to make sure I get his quote in here.
Oh, God.
Because okay, here it is. People screamed, let them transfer. People screamed, pay them. Screamers never have a responsible plan to make it work. They just scream nonsense to be the loudest.
Okay.
This is now college football. Well done.
No. Okay, so here's my point to that. I understand what he means by people are constantly saying do this and don't have a plan. The people that are in charge are the ones who don't have the plan. The people who are screaming the loudest on the internet actually do have some great ideas to how to make the sport better. And there are people that are in charge that don't, but this also sort of like moves us into Gene Smith sort of talking about FBS and how to figure out the situation with the playoff and all of that, which is a whole nother can of worms that needs to be fixed. But there are people with solutions. It's just not the right people. Like, Mark Emmert doesn't have a plan, obviously, before he stepped down or is leaving. He didn't have a plan, and that's why it didn't get fixed. So
it's complicated. Like, this is the other thing. Like, I don't have a fucking plan, Paige. Like, I don't have a plan. Like,
if it was my job to have a plan, though, I would figure it out.
Well, here's where it went. I'm just dropping too many F-bombs. I'm really sorry. I feel like overly aggressive, but I've been thinking about this stuff all week. I'm like, so it's not the alcohol. It's not a Cutwater. Promise. It's just a good old fashioned craft beer.
It's not a Cutwater. I'm so mad that I didn't grab a drink. By the way, I'm still in New York and like in my hotel. That's why this is all clunky and everything's going. But not a Cutwater. No. But you're still riled up. This is our natural like high of alcohol is like us getting fired up about college football things in the month of May.
Well, we need something to get mad about in the off season. And this is perfect. The whole thing, like the NCAA, rather than embrace this and foresee change on the horizon and collectively negotiate and shepherd in this new movement, lost in court.
Yes.
You want to blame somebody? Blame them. Lost like horribly, repeatedly in court, and didn't have the foresight to say we need to get out in front of this or we're going to get steamrolled.
Yep.
That's
it's
the
affecting
problem.
The entities, the like schools and the places that they're supposed to like help and represent. Well, also I didn't even know this. Like, I work in college sports and I really didn't know that that college basketball has its own like NCAA president of college basketball operations that's in charge of things. Like, college football does not have that. Correct. Which is wild to me that like the same, like, it's just crazy that's the case. And it's just, I hope, and that how many times have we heard the college football commissioner thing thrown around? There are a lot of people on the internet that self-proclaim themselves the college football commissioner. You would obviously
horrible job, by the way. Thank you. I would not want that job.
You're too nice. You're way too nice.
No,
I probably could do it, but you're too nice.
No, and it's like the sport is deeply flawed. The people's criticisms of NIL are valid. People's criticisms of players not being fairly compensated are valid. People's complaints that a coach makes $10, $11 million a year and a school teacher makes $60,000 a year, well, that's business. Like, but I get it. So it's the tampering, all that. Like, this is wild, wild west shit. There's a couple other arguments I want to just beat down now that it's a rant. Yes. To the guy out there, or girl, whoever, is saying, well, now there's only going to be 4 teams, like 5 teams that compete for a title. Buddy, where you been? Where the fuck have you been? Like, what do you think is happening? And look at our rankings. Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, A&M's trying to buy their way into that, okay? Like, and they may. Yep. But after that, it's Alabama. I had this discussion with a friend recently. Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, in whatever order you want. That would be my order. I believe it's yours as well. Yes. A&M, but A&M is doing it with money, a shit ton of it, a shit ton of money. So what exactly has changed? Is it going to become more pronounced? Maybe. I don't know how it can really become more pronounced. Like, look at the playoff. It's the same damn teams every time. So I think the sky is falling crew, that's who I'm upset with. The sky is not falling. The sky is just, this is where we've been. It's just now out in the open, and we're talking about it a little bit more freely, and we're thinking that this is the end of the world. I don't think that's the case.
Well, and I also hate the argument of like, where does it stop? Where does it stop compensating these players for this? And where does it, whatever? That's not how the world works. Like, that's not even how, like, if somebody wants to go out and make more money, they're going to go and do it. This is America. Like, we should not.
The markets will correct themselves.
Right?
Yeah,
it'll figure itself out. Like, at some point, there's going to be a player that asks for too much. It's going to be a problem. He's going to go to a school that's smaller, and he's not going to get in the, like, draft position he wants to, and that's going to be on them. Like, it'll figure itself out. Does there need to be regulations on when you can talk to guys, what you can offer, how you can offer it? Yes, there does. I also, like I said, I think we had the perfect storm of, oh God, when it's like you get a free year of eligibility and transfer, and you have,
yes, I agree,
and you have the ability to make money. It became the ultimate form of free agency, which is what it is at this point. But I think it will be different when you do have to sit out a year. You do have to do this. But also, those rules should be looked at. And also, we shouldn't just waive things for quarterbacks. There are other people that have circumstances that the NCAA, who was capitalizing on this money, let certain guys transfer and have waivers, as opposed to guys that genuinely need it, that played other positions that weren't quarterback and things like that, or played for big schools. So that rule also needs to be looked at. So it's like there's so many things.
Arch Manning comes to mind.
Oh my God.
Could there be a better an athlete better position in the stage of phase of NIL than this one? A Manning, number one player in the class, number one quarterback, looking at what? Texas, Georgia, Alabama, I think, is and there's more. Oh, buddy. Get the pockets out, get the wallet out. Holy, that dude is lined up to make some money.
Here's the thing. I think maybe I mentioned it on this podcast before, or maybe this is just a conversation I had separately with somebody. But in regards to Arch, I think it's going to be funny because I think every NIL deal he has will be a family decision. I feel like it'll be something that benefits the family businesses. And I feel like the Mannings are definitely the type of people to be well, he wants to continue the legacy at wherever and felt more comfortable here, he's going to take less money. So, say Georgia offers more money than Alabama, he wants to go play for Nick Saban and play for the greatest coach of all time. It wasn't about the money, but yet he's still going to be getting money. So I feel like that narrative is also going to be around, and they're going to be it's not about the money for him. It's about this. But I mean, to be fair, he does have money, so it's not like he's worried about.
Yeah, it's not as
It's different than the guys that.
Peyton Manning negotiates he gets to wear a Papa John's logo on his over his heart or something.
He does he's in are they the Allstate commercials with Brad Paisley?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Seriously.
They should. That would be
they will.
So funny.
No, that's coming. That's that's happening. So we all just need to chill. This is the perfect off season, and you know what's going to happen, Paige? I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. You're going to get all pissed off right now. We're going to lose our minds, and then Bryce Young is going to throw a touchdown. I think he's going to go to Bama. By the way, everyone's saying USC. I think it's going to be Bama. I think that would be a wonderful business decision for. I think both are good business decisions.
Up front, he could make probably more money at USC. They'll probably offer him more, but Alabama. You're gonna still make money now and probably make more money later catching passes from Bryce.
And also, this is a free agency thing. Do you want the money or do you want to win a national title?
Okay. But again, that also puts you in a place to win more money later because you're drafted.
For sure.
You can't tell me they're playing in it and also playing in the SEC.
Yes.
That also looks good.
It just means more. Evaluation. Are you going to drop that on me? It just means more.
Playing against defenses in the Pac-12.
It does.
I
It
can
means
say
more than playing
Pac-12.
Cal at 9 a.m. Central Time on a Saturday. Actually, no. USC will never play at 9 a.m. I'm sorry, that's not right. But
No.
it
But
stands.
to that point, because the other part of that story that we forgot to mention was what you did slightly mention, but is that there was the report that Addison is now working out with Bryce Young. I mean, that there's nothing better than working out with an Alabama quarterback, I guess now.
No, why not? All right, so NIL, I feel like we're just going to discuss every week with probably the same sort of anger. Do you want to talk about Nebraska football?
Yes, I do. Jason, I hope you're listening.
Jason, yeah, it's your time to shine. Nebraska's doing some transfer portaling, by the way. Also, Scott Frost got himself the show cause, and so I didn't even hear about this suspension. I heard about getting dinged. So he's suspended 5 games, or excuse me, not 5 games. That's 5 days. 5 days. That's kind of a big difference in championship. What the fuck? Like, so.
What was the word that they used? Hold on, let me look it up. The phrase championship.
So basically, it's in season suspension.
No, but it's in in. Hold on.
Does the fall count? Like, does summer, like first week of practice count? I'm assuming.
It honestly, it made me laugh so hard when I read it. Where's it? Oh, it says it says a 5-day suspension to be served during the championship segment of the season.
Nebraska fans are like, "What is that?"
They're like, championship segment.
I'm sorry.
We have one of those.
Sorry, Jason. Yeah. Does that include losing to Illinois? Is that a championship segment?
But this was because they had too many. This is also kind of a funny thing to get dinged for. It's like, first of all, they were cheating and still lost. But they had a coach. You could only have 10 coaches actually contributing, and they had a special teams violation of this. There was a coach that was helping and said something and helped during a game. That's what happened, right?
Yes, yeah, and this is fine. I'm telling you right now, I like Nebraska a little bit heading into the year.
I figured.
I'm not just saying that because
I'm pretty sure
good buddy Jason, he is an influence, but I like him anyways. Like, I think they're going to be good.
Is he your neighbor?
He is my neighbor.
Okay,
literally. He just texted me about my lawnmower, which is currently not working.
Oh,
and I'm not fucking happy about that either. By the way,
today's just been a day, but I think
it's been a day.
I think Jason sneaks over to your house and at night when you're asleep and
he does.
Turns on Nebraska affirmations for you to listen to while you're sleeping, and it's just playing you will select Nebraska to be number 1 in your power rankings.
There's some of that too.
Yes, he definitely comes over, sinks into your house, and turns on those affirmations for you to root for his team at night. I'm convinced.
I'm just saying. Now, Scott Frost has got to win, but this ain't no thing for Scott Frost. As long as he wins, doesn't lose a game by single digits for a little while, I think we're going to be good. Do we do our number 11 team now, or do we hold that off to the end? Also, I have a Kentucky Derby pick. I love the Kentucky Derby.
I actually do too, and so we've talked about this a lot. We do want to go and host events at sporting events. I would love to have a no punts allowed Kentucky Derby style.
Such a shit show. It is such a shit show.
You've been?
Oh yes, yeah. I've been twice. I mean, again, I'm in my former life a degenerate horse player. I love horse racing. I love
the ponies.
Oh, I love handicapping. I drank wine and handicapped it last night, so I actually feel prepared for the Derby. At the end, that'll be our picks and pines.
I hope that no one takes betting advice from me because I'm in New York right now, so I'm able to do the apps, and I set up a NBA playoff 4-game parlay. I just got reamed last night. The first 2 games just absolutely destroyed my bet. It was just bad.
I love the 4-game parlay though. Just throwing that diving right in head first.
Oh yeah, I like full degenerate mode of like, let's do it. I'm in.
I do. Let's save the ranking, and then we'll do Derby. Let's first talk. I know you want to talk about Ryan Tannehill and Malik Willis. And I think this is really interesting. So introduce the if people don't know, kind of what the vibe is here.
Yeah, essentially Ryan Tannehill, somebody asked him about mentoring Malik Willis, and he said, it's really not my job to mentor him. Like, we're competing against each other, and we have the same film and do the same workouts and run the same drills. Like, I don't think it, like, if he learned something from me from that, cool, but I don't think it's my responsibility to mentor him. And like a ton of people were like very, very upset that he said that, and like made it like it was this horrible thing that he's not willing to mentor, that someone he's like technically competing. He's not competing for his job against, but like he is, if you think about it. I didn't think there was anything wrong with it, because I think like there is some like healthy competition type of thing you need to have when it comes to quarterbacks on the same team, whether or not one is for sure going to start over the other, all of those type of things. But I just think it's very, very strange that people got so mad about this. And I understand, like, you want to see people mentor other people, but it is not their job. It is their job actually to do their job and create competition, which therefore will help that quarterback learn. But I think this was also like, because I know Aaron Rodgers made these comments with like Jordan Love, and it was like people were annoyed by that too. But I think that's also like the nature of who like Aaron Rodgers was. And I was one of those people. I was like, oh, how obnoxious of him. But now that I think about it, I'm like, all right, I see why. I think maybe they should be open to giving advice and maybe take them under your wing. But to say that you're like mentoring them and making sure that they are taken care of is a little far, because they're still professionals and they're adults.
It's counter to what I believe in. I'm not mad.
Yes.
Because he's got to do what he's got to do. But like, I've always been I've gotten in positions I'm in because of other people who have told me what to do and how to act and everything else. So I like, and just like Ryan Tannehill's job is to win games. And as a company or whatever, you would think part of that would be to make, like, he's one misstep away from this dude playing.
Yeah.
So, like, it came off as insecure more than anything else to me. Like, that's the thing. Like, whether it's his job or not, he didn't come out of it looking great, because it's like, are you that worried about a dude from Liberty? Like, that's what it feels like. Like,
maybe that's why I had such a problem with the way that Aaron Rodgers went about it, because I was like, you're Aaron Rodgers. He's not taking your job. You wanted to leave and made that very clear. And like, clearly that hasn't worked out. But like, I think that's why it's different, because like, I do feel like there was no competition. I feel like in the Titans quarterback room there is more competition, even though there's not. It's not as extreme as Aaron Rodgers versus Jordan Love. It's a little bit closer of a gap, I would say.
I'm not mad. You also don't have to say this shit. This is the other thing. You just say, yeah, he's a young dude. I'll help him out. Whether you think it or not, you just like risk sounding like an asshole. You know what I mean? Like, he now is like a prick, like to a lot of people. Like,
people are really pissed about it.
Yeah, and it's like, well, because it's like, I don't know, like, especially in a sport like that, where you would think you'd want every advantage. Like, dude, just help the guy. Like, or just say you're going to help the guy and then be an asshole, or like whatever. Like, it's just, and again, I get it. He's not alone. I'm sure other people feel the same way. These guys, in fairness to him, it is so competitive for one of these starting quarterback jobs that if you get one, and he's had to rebirth his career and he did it really well, like, you got to hang on to it. But it just, most of all, like, whether he does it or not, like, my takeaway isn't like, wow, Ryan Tannehill's scared, like, clearly scared about losing his job. Like, he's going to be a free agent soon, and like, it does not come off as a position of strength. Like, whatever his goal was, and maybe he's just being himself, it was not like, wow, all right, that's a hardo right there. Way to go, buddy. Yeah, don't tell the young kids what to do. Like, give me a fucking break. Like, I'm just mad today, Paige. I'm sorry. I'm mad at everybody.
You really are in like a revved up mood, which I like, because like I said, most of the time you're probably one of the nicer people that I know in this world. So you don't like to ruffle feathers, but here you're like drawing some lines in the sand about how you feel.
I don't know. Like, I didn't know that treating people, like teaching people and helping people was an inconvenience, Ryan Tannehill. You suck anyways.
Yeah.
What the hell? Go Malik. Take that job, buddy.
Team Malik.
Yeah, seriously. Like, go Malik. I'm sorry. All right. Let's rank football teams, something that's way less competitive. All right. To summarize, and I always like saying all the teams.
That's why we're going to let you do it every week.
Yeah. All right, so here's where we are. We are team number 11, but to get here, you had Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson, Texas A&M, Utah, Notre Dame, Michigan, Texas, and NC State. I had Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas A&M, Utah, Clemson, Notre Dame, Michigan, Oklahoma State, and NC State. So, where are you going with your team this week?
So I'm going to take Oklahoma State. And as I was doing a little bit of research, I remembered that they do have a new defensive coordinator and somebody that I very much respect in the sport, despite as a head coach not having great success. Derek Mason is somebody that I do think is a quality football coach and will bring something to that. I also think if you look at the conference and their schedule and the fact that he does have a lot of defensive returners coming back to work with. So I feel like that is a positive. And if you can play solid defense and then you have the offense thing figured out for years now, you're able to win some games and compete in that league.
I like them. I mean, I already had them.
Yes.
I've named them already, but I get it. We don't really want to like Mike Gundy anymore, but the guy just really does well. So
yeah.
The Knowles loss is a big one, but I think they're going to be really good. My team's Arkansas, 11, so a little bit of a change. Sam Pittman can coach. I really like Sam Pittman. I really like the development of this team. And I think one of the names that people are going to hear about or should get used to hearing over the next, couple of months and really into the fall is KJ Jefferson, the quarterback of Arkansas. That dude could really play, play.
Big.
Yeah, he's a big guy. He can move. He was hurt some last year. They were competitive in pretty much all of their games, beat Texas A&M. Their schedule sucks, right? But they're a game team. And the identity under Pittman has been so much different. If you think about just where they arrived, Bielema, it was bad. They're legit, and I really like their quarterback. It's tough conference to separate in, but I like what I see. So I get Arkansas there. Okay. So Kentucky Derby. Are you, so obviously drink, I got to ask you an alcohol question.
Okay.
Have you had a mint julep?
No.
They're terrible. They're horrific.
I feel like
I'm not a huge mint. Yeah, just what's wrong with bourbon?
I'm a huge bourbon person, so for me it's like bourbon.
Yes, mint juleps are disgusting. First and foremost, that's a take. Since I'm just going to be crabby the whole show, but I really do like this race, and I have some very quick handicapping thoughts. So there doesn't feel like an elite race. First off, it's supposed to rain. So as of last night, when I was looking at this, it's supposed to rain, which is very interesting. Now, the Derby is a bunch of young horses. There is a horse page named Happy Jack. I have a son named Jack, so I feel obligated to bet this horse. The problem is he's very bad. He's not a very good horse. My son, good most of the time. Happy Jack, not so good. But my pick, and I'm going to bet, I do some weird shit, exactas, trifectas in this race. Taiba, 12, is going to be my pick.
Okay.
He's only run 2 races. He was purchased for $1.7 million. This is a $1.7 million horse. And the horse has run 2 races and just been amazing in both of them. Really good speed numbers and everything else. So I won't get into the whole horse racing jargon, but it's a really fun race.
Does Bob Baffert have a horse that can win?
Well, he can't. So he can't. So he's it's funny you asked that, because this horse that I like was previously trained by Bob Baffert, and instead his former stable, like, right-hand man is training him, which feels very shenanigan-y, but whatever.
It's horse racing. Lots of things are shenanigans.
Yeah,
so
horse racing has no
For
soul.
those who don't know who...
But, yes, I like this horse, and I like some of the other horses even that Bob Baffert used to work with.
Yes, I was going to say, for those who don't know who Bob Baffert is, he trained American Pharoah, right?
And he's a huge friggin' cheater.
Hey, you know what? He's also an Arizona Wildcat.
Oh, Jesus. I knew I was about to get Sean Millard right there. In some capacity. I could feel just your hand placement. I was like, oh no.
There's certain things that, like, I will argue in sports a lot about. Like, even this week, like, I don't love Chris Paul, and I respect him as a player, but, like, there's a lot of things. But, like, the fact that you just said getting Sean Millard, like, that is what I'm going to use as, like, the way to describe if I'm going to go Sean Miller on you right now. Because,
I could just feel it. I'm getting, this is more time in the pod. I just know when I'm going to get, not lectured. That wasn't it. You were just like, oh, you better watch. But unlike Sean Miller, Baffert is a cheater.
A cheater. That's true.
An actual cheater. There we go. I'm softening that.
A real cheater as opposed to a framed cheater. Okay.
I will say Saturday night, Kentucky Derby is on, and then it's UFC 274, and it's a really good card. There's going to be, I think I'm going to make Yellowhammers, first of all, announcement, the Alabama drink. That's like my go-to.
You like doing that.
Yeah, I haven't done it in a couple of months, so I think it's time, and there's going to be some beers. So I'm excited. I love it. And then it's going to be fun. So yes,
and then,
Derby,
by the way, don't get too hungover Mother's Day the next day.
I've got a Mother's Day breakfast around like 9 a.m.
Nice.
And that's probably not going to go particularly well.
Get some like liquid IV or body armor to have next to your bed. And
I'm going to start hydrating right now is what I'm going to start doing too. So, all right.
Great call.
Anything else we got? I'm sure NIL will break and everything else. But there's a lot going on.
Yeah. I'll be back home this week, next week's podcast episode. And then I might be on the road again. What do we got beer wise? What are we drinking?
Oh, you know what? Thank you for bringing that up. I did the picks, but not the pints. So this is Son of Juice, always my favorite can. Wait, I'm covering the best part. Where is this pants? It's a pants with like a tap coming out of the pants, which sounds a little sexual when I say it like that. It's not meant to be sexual. You can see the can. Maybe slightly sexual. It's not. It's just people listening to the pod like, what?
What is wrong with him?
Yeah, no, just the normal stuff. So yes, a little Son of Juice, and I'm going to be stopping on the way home to partake. Definitely, it's a red wine evening, I think. So safe travels to you. For Paige, I'm Adam. We will talk to you guys next week.